guys, this is Maria. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my 1 week postpartum update. In today's video, I will go over all kinds of things you can expect in the first week of postpartum starting day 1. I'll also update you on my progress, my weight gain, my plan, products that I've used throughout this week, and just give you kind of a prep if you're somebody who is expecting and you're about to start the postpartum journey, to give you an idea if somebody's going through it. Also just to share and see where we all are at. If you are looking for mommy related content, subscribe to my channel. I have 2 other children. This is my 3rd one, and I post lots of activities. I also focus on Montessori at home outside of my newborn stage, and also lots of mommy lifestyle content. All right, now I'm gonna start with the timeline of the symptoms just so you can see. I also did pre-film some of the looks at me, how I looked at all of those stages. So the very first day, pretty much right after delivery, by the end of the day, I was able to walk, I was able to stand up. I had a VBAC, which is a vaginal birth after C-section. My previous delivery was a C-section, and I'm very happy. It was the most peaceful delivery I've ever had. At some point, I had only the nurse from the hospital and Justin with me, and I was pushing. And then by the time the baby was almost out there, that's when all the nurses and the midwife came in. So it was a very peaceful experience that I actually recorded in my labor and delivery vlog. Overall, just birth is obviously painful. My epidural worked really well on my legs. They were like jelly and were super numb, but it did not work very well in my vagina part. So I pretty much felt all the pushing. I had only 1 stitch, and it was not painful at all. Now, the first night, the main things that I felt were, well, my jelly legs after epidural. They did prescribe me some pain medications. I believe it was Morphine and something else, which I took Morphine only twice, and I did not take prescription for any other medications because I felt fine. And it was my 2nd vaginal birth, and after my 1st vaginal birth, I was fine, absolutely fine. I had no tears, nothing. Granted, I went into labor early with my 1st one, where here I made it to 38.5 weeks. My baby came only 10 days before the due date. So it was absolutely all our dreams came true with this delivery and with this baby. So as far as my postpartum care, at the very beginning, what I needed to use was mainly, let me try to find it, I have behind me, squirting bottle when I go into the restroom. Also, I filmed it in my delivery vlog, but I might lay it over here as well. I had gigantic undies that the hospital provided me, a pad and an ice pack, and that worked well I used it for the first 2 days of postpartum. Then the day later, well, actually, no, I think I went home. I was not already using the ice packs. Yeah, so I transitioned out of ice packs within 24 hours, and then I went just to using the pad. I did not have very heavy bleeding. It was pretty normal, but I do have to say that the 2nd day, I was feeling the most beat up I did. I think that's when the epidural fully wore off. My rib cage was hurting. Every time I would nurse, my uterus was contracting. It was the most sickening pain. It was it was just all of me was just contracting. It was pretty bad. They say that with each delivery, it gets worse. So if it's your first delivery, you might not even feel the uterus contractions just because the muscle is so strong and it shrinks so easily. The more babies you have, the more that muscle has to work. So, and I would also feel lots of bleeding while I was nursing. But that was the main symptom. Then day 3 of my postpartum is where my boob stuff started happening. My milk came in pretty much the same day I delivered. Again, I also want to say that genetics plays a big role in how much milk you produce and how quickly it comes and in what quantity. Sometimes it's nothing, you obviously need to eat healthy, stay hydrated, take your mother's milk tea, do everything that they suggest, but some people will just genetically produce more than others. It's just the way it is. And I'm one of those people, which it does come with certain side effects. So day 3, so I had Juliet on Sunday. So Monday, I was mainly feeling uterine corrections. Tuesday is when at night, my breast became so engorged, I could not sleep. They come up to here, and I've shared that before. That happens to me every single time. And it was excruciating pain. I put ice packs on it. I put washcloth. I also used nipple shields, which I mentioned in my vlog as well. Lactation consultant suggested them, and they weren't my favorite. I actually will do the whole like breastfeeding in the first few weeks video, because breastfeeding an older baby and breastfeeding a newborn is just like totally different ball game, and I myself forgot about how different it is. But the first few days are rough. Your nipples are super sensitive, and the baby has really sharp gums and has no idea what what they're doing. So it's not a match made in heaven. Like, my nipples were cracked and they hurt, and it was just not fun. But again, I'm gonna talk over like the whole breastfeeding part in a separate video with all of the products that I've used and how did I got through that journey. So 3rd day postpartum, again, still had uterine contractions. I still have bleeding on day 7, but it's very light. I'm at the point of using regular pads. I'm not using any like witch hazel or anything like that. I did run out of everything that my hospital provided to me by about day 3. And I purchased the Freedom Mom kit prior to going to the hospital, and I didn't even know if I'm going to use it, and I did end up using it. But I have to tell you, so it did came with its own pads, which I don't have there in the restroom right now. They gave me a little bit of an each. They were a little different from the witch hazel pads that the hospital provided. So, and it could be, it could be just me. I did not use this boyfriend shorts, which I might as well use it on the wipes. So here's those, actually, the Freedom Mom wipes. That's the ones that, it also says witch hazel, but I don't know. They were giving me a bit more agitation. Here's the maternity pants that they come with, disposable ones. Looks pretty good. I mean, it looks similar to what they give in the hospital. Here's what I've used and I like the most, and I'm like, we need to come up with this for other things too. So this is instant cold therapy absorbent pad in one. Basically, you kind of break it down, and there's a substance there that makes it cool. Same as the hospital pads that I had in my hospital. Now, I used those when my breast milk came in and I had breast engorgement. I broke it down, added in my nursing bras underneath, and then I had cold washcloths that I put in a freezer on top, and that's the only way I could sleep. Also airing out my nipples, because I mean, it was bad. So, and then it comes with this healing foam, which I didn't even open. I did not use it. So now, is it worth it to buy? Yes, it is worth it, especially if you have a heavier bleeding, you have more than one stitch like I did, and you have like a hotter recovery. So it would be a great gift actually for like a baby shower for a mom, I would say. And so I used all kinds of products from there in a different way. Another thing that I use all the time, let me grab it and I'll show it to you, is my breast pump from Medela. This is an automatic one. I think it's pump and style, and it has changed a lot. I used to have pump and style for, 6 years ago and 4 years ago, and this one is much more portable. It's easier to use. You don't have to wash the tubes, which you used to have to rinse them out in one of the versions. So use this all the time. I have half a freezer stocked with milk, guys. I have to pump pretty much after each feeding, otherwise my boobs explode, just to put it that way. It is a blessing that I have that much milk. I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm happy, but it comes with a lot. Now, progressing into my postpartum journey, again, today is day 7, and by day 7, the nursing seems to be under control. Like, I have to pump a lot. Like, I don't get in the car without my hand pump, because I never know when this is just gonna get out of control. But the latching on, her drinking, her eat, like, my nipples aren't as sensitive anymore. They kind of got used to it. So I would say we are in so much better place today than like even 3 days ago. So hang in there. Breastfeeding is not easy in the very first few days, but just don't give it up. There is certain things you can do to help yourself out to get through this journey, and it will be so worth it. Like once your baby gets older, gets a hang of it, it will be so enjoyable. It is rough, but it is worth it. I mentioned at day 7, the only thing I am doing that is postpartum related down there is just using pads. I still have a little bit of bleeding, very, very small. Now let's talk about the aftermath of pregnancy on my body. And I don't want to say it's pretty sad, because I don't feel that way. I don't look at my body and feel like, oh my gosh, like this is me now. I don't. I went through postpartum twice before. I knew what I'm going in for, and I knew this time is going to be harder. So I have no issues with my postpartum body, even though there's a big difference. So here is me about a year ago, and that's how I looked right before I got pregnant. You can see me on the screen. I just got off my keto diet. I started the pregnancy at 109 pounds. I gained a total of 47 pounds throughout this pregnancy, and I've so far lost 15 of those between blood, swelling, water, baby, placenta. So the 15 of them are gone. I still have over 30 pounds to lose to be where I am. And here is how I look at it. I am not planning to go on any kind of diets for the first 6 months, because every time you go on a diet, it affects your breast milk. To me, the baby's health is much more important than the way I look in this first period of time. And just as a perspective of mom of several kids, the newborn stage is going to fly by so quickly. It might feel like a lot, especially if it's your first one, but you will blink and your baby's gonna be 6. So like my first one is losing her teeth, going in the 1st grade, and I just still can't fathom that she was this little not so long ago. And I know I'm like getting a little teary-eyed, but that's the truth. And also like doesn't have the Juliet, looks very much like her sister when she first came out. So guys, I wouldn't focus so much on where your body is at. And again, like everybody's different. Your hormones might be going crazy again. I look at myself and I'm like, oh, not that bad. I actually came out pretty good looking, you know. And some people will look and be like, oh my gosh, I am just a wreck. So stay positive. This is gonna, if you're breastfeeding, if you're gonna get active, you will start losing the weight. After I had my son though, after C-section, it was a bit upsetting because when I went for my 6 weeks appointment, I lost nothing at all from the moment like I gave birth to him. And then after 6 months, when he got on solids, I got on more like stringent workout routine and diet. I mean, I lost it all. I was 109 pounds when I went into this pregnancy. So 2 products I shared in my postpartum essentials list that I filmed while I was pregnant is the wrap from Bally Bandit. It was called BFF wrap, I believe. It was for people who are petite or have a shorter torso because it is shorter. And then I also had this C-section recovery garment right here. So I did use both. I like this one way better. So here's the deal though. I used it right after I had Juliet. Like a day after, I was able to put it on and it sucked me in really well. But my belly went so much smaller that now if I put it on, it doesn't really do much anymore. But then at the same time, if I would have gone a size down, because I bought size medium for this, I would have been able to use it right away. So for the price that I paid for it, being able to use it for 5 days happily, I don't know if it was like worth it, but I could go down a size and I probably would enjoy it. But I'm also at the point where I'm like, maybe I just buy myself some Spanx, some tight Spanx that suck me up, because my yoga leggings do the same. So now I don't know, like if it's, I would still say wear it and buy it if you have the means, because I've honestly enjoyed having this and it was very comfortable because it was not a wrap. Now this wrap, it's size small, I believe I purchased, and it's still a little tight on me, but when I put it on, I'm not sure I like it because it starts moving around. Like where this one did not move, this one starts moving around more and it kind of is not as comfortable. So I am not 100% sure I like the wrap. 7 days postpartum, the main thing that's been catching up with us, both me and Justin, is the lack of sleep, and Juliet is a good baby. Like for as good as the newborn can be, she does cluster feed at night. And actually, the doctor at the hospital told us that it's typical for newborns to cluster feed at night because that's when your milk producing hormones are the highest. Why nature did it this way, I don't know. But you know, before I had all these other things kind of bothering me, like my uterus, my boobs, and now I mainly suffer from like sleep, and I start feeling it like I'm not as patient, you know. If it's your first baby, you probably can write it out, but you know, I have 2 other children. I also have a job, which I'm, you know, doing remotely right now, and I'll continue doing remotely for a little bit, but it's starting to take its toll on me. Typically what happens is that they cluster feed, which means they eat really frequently, and the very first few months, I think. So she wakes up to eat, I feed her, she falls asleep. Now I have to go pump because my boobs are exploding. I lay her down to pump. By the time I pumped, stored my milk, washed all the pump parts, she wakes up to eat again. I feed her again. And then after that, I can go to sleep. But then sometimes she might hang out for a little bit. And she's not crying. She's just looking around and like doing her baby thing. And yeah, it's just, you know, and then I wake up, Justin's like, can you sit with her? But last night was the first night where I was like, oh my gosh, this is getting like, I need to lay her down because my eyes can't stay open anymore, where before I was able to manage it a little bit. I hope you enjoyed this update. Here's where we are at. As far as kids, I actually did not talk about it at all. Kids love her. I actually am sometimes get a bit annoyed because I cannot get their hands off of her. And I'm like, please just let her sleep. She doesn't need to be held right now. Just let her be. But you know what? We are very fortunate that they took on to her with so much love that they just want to be with her all the time and hold her and stuff like that. So we're adjusting really well is what I have to say. All right, this is it. That's all I had to say in my postpartum update for 1 week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel for more updates on the baby, mommy, and also older children, because eventually my content will switch a bit more just because I'm in the thick of it right now. Doesn't mean my kids aren't doing anything else. We're doing lots of activities that I'll be sharing with you again. All right, see you later.